Hello and welcome. I'm John Hawk, the Chief Operations Officer for Nevada State High School. And with me today I have Jaime Cruz from the Workforce Connections in Nevada. And we're going to turn it over to Jaime to tell us a little bit about the Workforce Connections. But this is Hawk Talk, and I want to thank all of you for chiming in and following us on our Facebook. If you have questions, please go ahead and type those in on the comment section on our Facebook in your toolbar, and we'll be happy to answer them. So, Jaime, tell us a little bit about Workforce Connections and what it's about, and what are your initiatives, and where are you going?
Will do. Thank you for having me. I wish I would have known about Hawk Talk. I like it. I would have come out something catchy like Cruise News or something, But excited to be here with you. It's always good to see you. Workforce Connections is South Nevada's local workforce development board. So our mission is to prepare the pipeline of talent that's going to fill the employer's needs here in our region. And that goes I see workforce development as the intersection of education and economic development. So we're that middle piece that bridges the two, the supply and the demand.
Okay. So any initiatives that you have going on, and I ask that tongue-in-cheek because I do know one initiative that you have, but perhaps anything above and beyond that one that I know about, but I would like to talk about WorkKeys and your initiative here in the state of Nevada, and then within the Clark County parameters.
Absolutely. So we're really excited because about 8 months ago we got together as a group, and I mean a group, this is a variety of agencies across the workforce development ecosystem here in Southern Nevada, actually across the whole state. It included the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation, the Department of Employment, Training and Rehabilitation, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Nevada Department of Education, of course the local boards, Nevada State High School, CSN or College of Southern Nevada, and others. And so really what the partnership centered around was the WorkKeys assessment, being a nationally recognized credential that demonstrates and measures and demonstrates workplace readiness. We as an ecosystem got together and said, we kind of got tired of attending conventions in other cities and states where they were using all of them together, the assessment, to speak the common language of work readiness, both at the education level, at the post-secondary level, and of course the seeking work level, right? And so 8 months ago we started working as a team, and just a month ago we officially launched our Nevada Work Ready Communities Initiative, and we're now in the process, if you will, of taking the next steps. Of course, there are certain goals of numbers of assessments and number of employers supporting the assessment, and I think that's the important part, because people should want to have the NCRC, or National Career Readiness Certificate, which is awarded to you after you take the WorkKeys assessment, because it's something that employers look for now. It's something that employers across the nation are looking for, and now we're educating Nevada employers as well about its value. And before us, there was already Nevada employers who recognize the value of the assessment and were doing it themselves, but we're trying to just scaling that up at a much larger number.
Well, I want to thank you for doing that, and I see on your tagline, as I look on your website, it talks about partnerships, which you just discussed, but it talks about people, partnerships, and possibilities, and bridging all those things together. So the collection of the WorkKeys assessment, which I'm really happy and excited as the Chief Operations Officer for Nevada State High School, we have over 800 certificates out there in the community today. So I want to address our graduates that may have a certificate. Jaime, speaking to you, if you have these certificates, you can use these portable certificates to go to a potential employer and discuss your readiness for the workforce. So I always knew the workforce readiness, the National Career Readiness Work Certificate, as being the locating information. There was an English component, and there was an applied math. Now they've recently changed that, and there's workplace documents, and now there's also, I've got
graphic
here.
literacy?
Yep, the graphic literacy gets me, and then the applied math.
Yeah.
So they just changed that up this year. Is this looked at as something that we're relying on ACT for their psychometricians to make good and solid decisions? But are you seeing this as a good change, or a necessary change, or it's just something that was necessary from their point of view? Have you looked into that?
I think that's a great question, and the answer lies somewhere in between all of those.
Okay.
I think overall, I don't believe the substance of the value of the assessment and what it measures has changed much. Good. I believe they called it things to, I believe, adapt to the times and today's evolving world of the gig economy and the millennial customs and terminologies. But I think at the end of the day, still the assessment in its 2.0 version measures the foundational skills that employers have made very clear are needed to be work ready. I think that's cutting to the very core of the terminology, and I think in that regard it still does the best job. And of course that's demonstrated by the fact that so many regions across the country are using it.
Good, good. I know from an educator's perspective, and having seen both versions of the test, I don't see much from the educational perspective of it, but from an employer's perspective, it's interesting to hear your perspective on that too. So you're a potential employer, you're looking to put people out into the workforce, but you're also looking to hire people too. So I wanted to speak on your experience of hiring people. We've got students that are out in the community, in our community at Nevada State High School, that are looking for employment. What's the one thing that you can tell them, get ready for this when you go to an interview? Is there any one thing that sticks out to you as a potential employer?
Yes, absolutely. So I think while the assessment, in this case WorkKeys, measures the foundational work skills of, like you said, locating information, interpreting it, applying it, being able to communicate, those are all much needed and fantastic. But a lot of times they're communicated by a certificate, which is great as well, a validated, demonstratable certificate. But I still think the most important part about an interview is that attitude, right? Is that unmeasurable soft skill that comes across when you can convince an employer that you're the type of employee they want in their building. And those characteristics are, of course, again, harder to measure through an assessment, but it's enthusiasm, and it's it's the energy and the passion that you can demonstrate for that position you're applying for.
Great. I want to welcome everybody to this is Hawk Talk, and we're with Facebook Live, and we're with Jaime Cruz, the Executive Director here for Workforce Connections. And if you have questions, please type them in. I want you to make sure that your questions are answered, and so that we're able to get to those. But type those in. Again, John Hawk with Jaime Cruz from the Workforce Connections. Question, Jaime, and we're also talking about how we can get employable skills to the workforce from education, from college, higher education, into the workforce to be ready. So you sit around the table and you have a very high-profile board, and I congratulate you for bringing the collective people together. But is there any discussion that goes around the board as you speak that really kind of rises up for you and that says this is a problem we're trying to solve in the community here today?
Absolutely, and I think the number one issue, I shouldn't say number one, but one of the greatest issues that comes up in those conversations is meeting the demands that the employers are going to have here over the next decade. So when you think about Las Vegas as a city that's about to build an NFL stadium, it's about to expand one of the largest convention areas in the country, which is about to add 3 or 4 hotels on the Strip. And that's not to mention the peripheral projects that come because of that. When you build an NFL stadium, there's restaurants and shoppings and all these things that happen. And by the way, when you do all that, you have to build homes as well for those construction workers and permanent workers, and that means more schools, more hospitals, and so it just goes on. And so, yes, the need for a talent pipeline today is greater than ever. I think that this is a great place to be if you're trying to build a career. And again, like you said earlier, it's the time to put the foundational skills in your portfolio to be able to achieve that career. And of course, that includes not just, as we talked about before, getting your high school diploma, but of course also some kind of industry recognized credential like WorkKeys that can help you, give you that boost into that workforce.
So I'd like to take a moment and welcome some people to the show. Thank you, Mick, for joining us. And I noticed that we have Wendy, Dr. Wendy Hawk with the Nevada State High School. There's a couple of questions out there. So the first question comes from Mick. What industries do you find people for? So I guess the question is, you're here at the Workforce Connections. What are you looking to try to place right now? What industries are top of the notch for you right now?
Yep, that's a very common question that we get. And so because we're a government agency and we find ourselves aligned, if you will, with the governor's economic plan, economic development plan. And so we support at a very core level the industry sectors that the governor has made key target industry sectors here in Nevada. And those are aerospace and defense, agriculture, clean energy, healthcare, tech, manufacturing, logistics operations, mining, and then tourism and gaming. Now, some of those, as you probably can imagine, are not as prevalent in the south as they are in the north, mining, for example. And so here in southern Nevada, we find ourselves still, as they say, our bread and butter is probably, still is, and probably going to be the tourism and gaming industry. So that industry is always in the high list of demand for employees, for talent. But we're finding emerging, some of these emerging industries like healthcare and like IT or the tech world is also positioned themselves very closely now in that demand chart as well. So again, tourism, gaming, no change there, but healthcare and tech as well.
Okay. So another question comes from us. Again, our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Wendy Hawk, has joined us. How do businesses learn more about the National Career Readiness Certificate? So the certificate's out there. In fact, we've got a host of kids, I mentioned over 800 of them, that have the certificate. But how can they learn more about it and how to use it, I guess?
So that's fantastic that you asked, because again, as part of becoming a work-ready community, this ecosystem that I mentioned earlier here in Southern Nevada, number one, has stood up a website that business can go to, and that's nevadaworkready.org, really easy. But another way that we are have a not just a short but a mid and long-term plan is to help employers here in our region understand the value of the certificate, and not just to the job seekers and the recruitment process, but really how it can impact their bottom line. Because businesses, when they hire the right person the first time, they save on training costs, retraining costs, recruitment costs, and so forth. And so this is why, again, before we even started to before we started our project here locally, there was companies like ClickBond, like TH Foods, like Sunshine Minting that were already using this the assessment for the recruitment needs because it improved their bottom line. So what we plan to do over the next few months is to, with the help of the Chambers of Commerce of Henderson, Metro, and so forth, open those doors and really communicate with the businesses and expose to them the value of this assessment in their recruiting processes.
Very good. Because what we've always told them at Nevada State High School is it's how you pitch it to the employer. Because the employer may not know that you have this certificate, but what does it mean to them? And basically, if you're like any other employer, you're hiring for somebody's potential. And when you hire somebody for their potential, you have a list of skills that you want to effectively communicate to them and train them on. So it tells the employer the potential for this individual to be successful in a particular sector or job that's out in the workforce today. So that's good now that the employers are actually looking to use the assessment as a screening tool and as a recruitment tool. That's great. So again, John Hawk with Nevada State High School. I'm with Jaime Cruz, the Executive Director for Workforce Connections. If you have any questions, I'm going to encourage you, please type them in. I'd like to welcome you to the show. This is Hawk Talk, and we're here at Workforce Connections. We're actually looking at using the WorkKeys Readiness Work Certificate, the National Career Readiness Work Certificate, as a portable certificate to try to bridge together education and the future of our workforce and the readiness of our workforce. Jaime, what's that website again that you just mentioned that people can go to?
NevadaWorkReady.org.
NevadaWorkReady.org. I'll be sure to post that on there for you at the end of the show so that you have reference to it later on. So I'd like to welcome Christian. Christian has joined us today. Christian, if you have any questions, please feel free to type those in. I'll be happy to answer those for you. And, right. Okay, so let's close this up here. We have a student. We have an individual, because this doesn't necessarily need to be a student in high school, even though we're part of Nevada State High School, a public charter school in the state of Nevada, and our kids are taking this assessment. These are adults that are taking the assessment. Where is it that if somebody's watching this here, where can they go to take the assessment? Is it at one of the local universities? How do they sign up? What is the process? Do you have a process here?
Yes, to all of those questions actually. So there is multiple places where you can take the assessment as an adult that's in the workforce already and perhaps trying to upskill, or somebody who's looking for employment. The community colleges or colleges of Southern Nevada is one place. Of course, our one-stop centers, so Workforce Connections one-stop centers are another place. I believe, one of the best ways, I think, and this is why our new website is going to be a great tool. Soon, I hope soon, in the next week, we will have those locations listed in that website as well. Okay. And so, because it's multiple agencies and locations, I think that's going to allow us to keep it updated and adding new locations as they join as well.
Excellent. So I have a question. We're just nearing here at the end of our show, but we have a question. Question comes from Mick. With the improved Nevada economy, are you finding qualified candidates to fill open positions? So right now, is that a big need, or are we satisfying the need, or?
It's a big need that's becoming bigger every day, because there is companies, again, whether it be Tesla or Panasonic, or these companies coming into Nevada. They're expanding, they're growing, and their workforce needs, again, will be greater tomorrow than they are today. So we are already seeing difficulty today, because a lot of these new jobs, again, also require skills beyond high school. So and not necessarily 4-year degree college or more, but some kind of training post-secondary. And so again, the WorkKeys is a great starting point. But these jobs in these factories of advanced manufacturing will require automation skills, robotics, coding skills, and whatnot. So we see the problem getting worse as time goes by.
So I'm here, John Hawk. This is Nevada State High School's Hawk Talk. We have another question. Let me refresh to get that for you. And let's see here. Let me do this. I know it. I saw it. Let's poke over here and let's see what we've got, Jaime.
I might have to learn how to do this.
We'll get you there. All right. I'd like to welcome Christian again. And it looks like, what is the actual cost of getting the certificate? Do you know what the cost is? I mean, is it testing costs, or is there an actual certificate cost for printing? Or?
Yeah. And there is, technically a cost for each section of the testing, because there's the 3 sections we discussed earlier. And then you add perhaps a administrative cost for the certificate. But again, as a ballpark, the total cost is going to be somewhere between $20 and $30 in there, depending on where you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So again, John Hawk with Jaime Cruz, the Executive Director for Nevada Workforce Connections. Jaime, I'm going to leave you with the last word before we say goodbye to the audience, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. So anything else you'd like to add or to address the audience today?
Yeah, just I think the last piece to the cost is that in our centers, in the one-stop centers for Workforce Connections, if you are eligible for some of our programs, then the cost would actually go to 0. So
really?
Of course it depends on eligibility. But I would encourage anybody who's interested in taking the assessment and obtaining the certificate to come to a one-stop center by Workforce Connections and see if they're eligible for that free cost.
Great. And where can we get the addresses for the workforce, the one-stop connections?
Sure. The addresses would be posted. The easiest way is to go to our website, which is nvworkforceconnections.org.
Okay, so you heard that, nvworkforceconnections.org. Again, that's nvworkforceconnections.org. And so I'd like to thank everybody here for dialing in. And we have Nevada State High School. This is part of our Hawk Talk series. And I'd like to end with thanking Jaime and the Nevada Workforce Connections. But I want to also remind the audience and those of you that are watching that our spring registration for Nevada State High School is currently going on. You can visit us at our website at earlycollegenv.com. Again, that's earlycollegenv.com. Thank you very much.